unfortunately with a built-in laptop camera, what you can't do is unplug it. So I've just set the difficulty level for the braking on this loco to easy. The settings are essentially very easy, easy, medium and hard. And the main difference between very easy and easy is whether or not it takes into account the length of the train. So very easy assumes that you're just a light loco even if you've got 200 wagons behind you, whereas easy has very much the same sort of performance, but it runs it across the entire of the train. What that means is that it takes longer for brake pipes to recharge. It takes longer for the whole system just to work. Getting a train like this moving is always a bit tricky because you've got a lot of wagons behind you, and what you don't want to do is stretch any couplings too far and cause problems. Welcome back everybody, thanks for coming back to us. Sorry about the little hardware glitch we had there, but it looks like we're up and running again now. Running the Canadian Mounted Passes, it's an ES44AC loco in Canadian Pacific livery, and we're just in the area of Field at the moment, heading out for our journey. It's about an hour's journey, less if I may overspeed too much, but we'll try not to do that. Level crossing up here somewhere. Sorry, post-boot process decided it'd be a great time to pop a dialogue box on. This is where it all goes wrong right at the beginning. A red light and I wasn't braking early enough or hard enough. Okay, we're going to try that again, and this time we're going to watch what we're doing instead of worrying about all the horn blowing. What can I say, Alex? I like the American trains, but they are not my forte. Has to be said though, this is a beautiful route. It's been done by a guy named Jonathan Lewis, goes by the handle of Milepost Simulations. And if you haven't picked this one up, it really is very, very good one to have in your collection. not sure what too early is at this speed. Practically have to be on the thing. Hey Dave, good to see you on the channel. I don't know if Alex would agree with you. He's a lot more critical of my grade crossing horns. Shut that bell up. Americans do like their trains. Thanks, Alex. I'll take that as high praise. Dad, that's a great tip. Nice one. That'll tell me when to do the last horn. The trick is, when do I do the first one? Oh, looks like we found the end of this train and we might be able to get going. So I didn't earn any points for that stop. That wasn't very good. I didn't even realise I had to. You know what? It's not about earning points. It's about getting the goods where they're going safely. That's what I'm sticking to anyway. Welcome to the stream, folks. If you've just joined us, we're on Canadian Mountain Passes and we're driving an ES44AC Canadian Pacific livery, lovely red. We've just left field, managed to navigate the red light correctly, so yay me. If you haven't already, click the follow button and keep up to date with when we do new future broadcasts and other things. And across the top of the screen, there, I've put our social media links so you can find us in other places. What I generally do is take the highlights, each scenario that I run, and cut it up into highlight videos on Twitch, and then put those also on YouTube as well. And then for Facebook, you'll find links to those, and you'll find other information about what we're doing, and some of my general waffle, as if you didn't have enough on these videos. When will there be a Canadian national route, Dave? That's an excellent question. I'm not aware of any in production. However, I do agree there's some really good ones. There's the iron ore one. I can't remember which one it is now, but I did some research myself into that one, and that one looks really interesting. So going up a steep grade here. Wait for the whole train to go on and we can see what it is. This route pretty much its maximum gradient is in the 2.5% area, which is very steep. Looks like we've got 2 on the front and 1 on the back, so 3 lots of 4400 horsepower, which is a fair bit of power. This is also a long train with very heavy wagons. If you weren't aware, the scenarios for this route were actually written by a guy named Gary Dozel, who some of you more regular users to the game might better know as El Faber's Workshop. So that gives you an idea of the calibre of the scenarios. And you'll also find more on Steam Workshop, of course. I'm not sure why my little new follower thing isn't showing up, but thanks ECML for following. So good to have you on board. One of the really nice things with this route is the vast range of altitudes it goes up. So where you start at something that's all flat, and then you've driven for a little while and you look out the window and all of a sudden the ground has disappeared. And you can see the big valley to the left. Let's hop over to the conductor seat actually and see what's going on there. You can see actually, yeah, you can see a lot more clearly just how high up we're starting to get already. Green light at the top means clear for the main line, which is excellent, and it looks like we're on 2.2% grade, 17.5 miles an hour, which I think is fine. ETA is currently pretty much bang on where we need it to be, so I think we just let the train roll. And have some apple juice. What's Apple Junts then, Alex? I've no idea what Junts is. Keep going. We're sitting over in the conductor's seat at the moment, and now, wow, it's a long way down. It's yeah, that's a long way down. Get back in the engineer's seat, try and use the right lingo here. I get in trouble, too many American users if I say the word driver. It's a horrible thing to say to an American. It's engineer. Good evening, Paul T. Good to see you back again. Stick a head out the conductor's window, although we better keep an eye on that bridge that's coming. Look at the mountains. What a stunning view. I want to be here in real life driving this route. Wow. Coming to some snow sheds now, which is designed to stop the snow getting onto the tracks, strangely enough, you wouldn't believe it. Dav, I like driving with a head out view, you get such a lovely view, it's not constrained by the cab. There's a time for the cab and there's a time for head out. Alex, you're so right. I'm letting the team down, not having the headlights on. I slapped my wrist. The conductor gets so much better views than the engineer on this route, particularly going this way down. I guess the engineer gets his turn on the way back. Okay, we're about 0.2 miles away from Cathedral, and we're going to get there, it reckons, about 8 seconds after the time, which means we're still eligible for full points, so yay me. Got a green light on the main, so we're carrying on the main line. And we've got positive score. Win! So what we're looking at here, everybody, is the famous spiral tunnels which we're just approaching. And the train is sufficiently long that you'll be able to see it wrap over itself, which is always quite an impressive sight. So yeah, let's get back into the cab and see what we're doing. So licensing is a really interesting topic actually. Since you brought it up, I'm going to natter on about it for a little while. So even vintage names are actually still owned. In almost every case, when you look at vintage names, they're still owned. So if you look at you know, even the old railroads, you'll find that companies like Pennsylvania Railroad or Penn Central, that don't exist anymore in real life as railroads, actually do still exist as licenses and brands that are owned by companies, which means that it's technically and legally wrong to use them without getting the appropriate permission and licenses. And the same thing holds true with container wagons, and even if you go back into the past, you're still going to find the same problem. So, just as a brief interlude, we're coming into the first of the two spiral tunnels, so I'm going to hop out of the cab and just sit and watch the two, because riding through a tunnel is boring. There we go, and then from here we ought to be able to see the train as it gets to the top of the loop, then ready for the next spiral. We would dearly love to provide lots of nice licenses, and we work very hard. We've got dedicated people in the company working on getting licenses, but they take time. They take a lot of time, and TrainSim products just aren't a priority for people that have got shipping freight as their main business. So we just have to work with them, and patience. It'll all come. We're focusing on getting the licenses we wanted to get. So Canadian Pacific was a really interesting license to get hold of, and we're working on getting more, so we will get the ones, I'm sure, for your freight wagons eventually. So we can still see the train going into the tunnel, and it's turning round and doing a 270-degree turn, so it will eventually get up. In fact, here it comes. You can see it just behind the trees here, just around here. You'll be able to see it coming through, and then we'll jump back in the cab again. And we've sped up to about 19.5, so I do need to just keep a little eye on our speed there. There you go. That's one of the really impressive sights. A train driving over itself. There's my face in the way. I guess I should have spotted that, shouldn't I? Sorry. Good evening everybody, if you've just joined us, we're running Canadian Mountain Passes on TrainSim 2015, driving the S44AC in Canadian Pacific livery. We've just gone through the first spiral tunnel heading up. We're about to go into the second tunnel shortly. If you haven't already, hit the follow button so that you'll get notified when we do future broadcasts. And join us in the chat. Tell us what you want to see. Tell us what you want to do. Tell us what you've got problems with and what you'd like to see someone explain for you. We want to hear what you want to say. So one thing that's come up a number of times when we've done research on routes is, so in America you generally run on the right hand side, and here I am running on the left hand side, and this comes up a number of times. And so I guess the Americans in the audience, probably the viewers, probably already know the answer to this, but basically what it is that just because there's two tracks, it doesn't mean that the right hand one is actually a main line. In this case it's a loop siding, so there is only one track here, and I'm on the correct one. In fact, there's a train that's been held waiting for me to come up. I probably should have turned that off a bit earlier on and not blinded the other engineer, so sorry about that, mate. So, Paul T. So we've got the Great Western Main Line, which is Paddington to Oxford, which covers a section of the route that you're on. We have another route which is Bristol to Exeter, which again would cover some of the area that you're on. If you can find the original, one of the early ones, so from Train Sim 2012 or earlier, that comes with the original Intercity 125, and it's fully compatible. So if you were to buy the original one, and it would just upgrade to TS 2015. Or if you've already bought TS 2015, if you install, say, TS 2012, then you just get all that extra content inside your existing install, which would include the Great Western Main Line one I've just talked about, and it would include the blue and yellow Intercity. It would also include the VR Blue Class 47 and a number of other ones. I can't think of any other packs where we've got the VR Blue and yellow Intercity actually in the current packs. But certainly if you can find those, they're there. Actually, the EU Legacy Asset Pack, which you can get on Steam at the moment, that one would contain the blue and yellow Intercity, if memory serves correctly. And the Great Western Main Line is currently available on sale. In fact, in the Steam sale it should be a pretty decent price as well. So we're just coming past the end of the loop siding, back into the single track. Green signal clearing us on, which means we're probably, remember rightly, we turn left and go into the tunnel. In terms of other UK routes, Paulty, there's a lot. London Brighton, we've got London King's Cross to Peterborough, Settle to Carlisle. We've got an old Great Western one, the Falmouth branch. There's lots. I thoroughly recommend you go and have a look at our Steam store, and you'll see exactly. If you've already got the game, you can actually have a look in-game, in the in-game store, and see really nicely what products we've got available. Okay, so I'm going to have another go at showing the train over the train, and this time I'm going to try and not get my ugly mug in the way. What do you think? Think that'll do the job? I think that will do the job. Eurostar route through the Channel Tunnel. You know, we get quite a few requests for that one, and it's an interesting one to do. There's a lot of complexities involved in it, and I'm pressing the wrong buttons here, hang on. There's a lot of complexities involved in the Eurostar route, one of which is the Eurostar licence. Never say never. It's not one we've got planned at the moment, but there's a lot of interest in making that route. Personally, I'm not entirely sure whether people really want to spend as much time as they think driving through that tunnel, which I think is about 25 miles of tunnel. But it's one of the ones we get hotly asked for. Alex, uncalled for. Is that better? Just for you. Specialty just in this particular case as this train goes past, and then I'm going to force my face back on you again. That came out wrong. Ignore that. So if you just joined us and you're wondering what's going on here, we're driving a train on the Canadian Mountain Passes. It's a long freight train, 2 locos on the front, 1 loco on the back. It's a Canadian Pacific train. And we're actually going through a tunnel. In fact, if you look at the tunnel mouth at the top, you can just see the train coming out of the tunnel now. And that's actually the same train that's going in the tunnel at the bottom. So this is the famous spiral tunnels at the top of the Kicking Horse Pass in Canada. So we're just going to watch this train cross over itself. It's the second of the 2 spiral tunnels, and then we'll see where we need to go to finish this scenario. Of course, having switched my face off so no one can see it, so you can enjoy the camera, there are of course trees in the way. I'm back! If you haven't hit the follow button yet, now's a great time to press that follow button. You press the follow button on Twitch if you're not already aware. What it does is it will tell you every time the people you're following do a broadcast, which means you'll get notified. And you wouldn't want to miss me broadcasting, would you? I mean, really? No, of course not. More positive points. Oh yes. Looks like we've got about a half an hour left on the run of this scenario. So one of the things we're going to see as we come up the top here is a beautiful lake, which is stunning as a drive around that. A little bit further on, yeah. Still a long way to go, yeah. Looking down there, we can actually see where we came up. It looks like that train's still sat there. The grade's eased up to 1.7%, which it's changed 2 or 3 times actually on the way up here, and so that's why I've been varying the throttle a little bit just to keep it under that 20. We haven't got a targeted ETA for our next thing. It's just a standard go via 4.8 miles due in at 10:49, which is about 13 minutes from now. Speed limit's going up to 25. Ooh, steady on. Good evening, Mitchell. Good to see you on the channel again. Dav, I never say anything funny. You silly. Can't ask me to say funny things. Wibble. Junes. Sorry, Alex. It just feels like I need to start giving as good as I'm getting, and you're giving trouble pretty good. So as you look down there, the road's starting to, the ground's starting to catch up with us again, even though we're going uphill still at 1.9% now, and yeah, the lake is just a bit further up here. Green light on the top, which means we're clear on the main, which is good, because we all know how good I am with the brakes. Oh, and the stream stopped working again. The camera, excellent. There we go, camera's back. I think I'm going to have to invest in a half decent camera. Okay, we can see the road coming up to us now. Get back in the engineer's seat instead of spending all my time in the conductor's seat, which is where all the magic happens. Hey Kill Bill, good to see you on the channel, thanks for joining us. Mr. McGregor, is that you? Good to see you on the channel. Make sure you hit the follow button. Do it, do it, do it. Let's notch up and see if we can't get a bit more speed on. Actually, it's levelling out now. We're just about at the top. I don't know if you can see in front of us. Actually, we've got the rest of the world has levelled up to us, which means we're close to the lake. Sounds like an ATI driver. Do you have an AMD Radeon card there, Kill Bill? Probably first thing I'd suggest is updating video drivers just to see if that helps. Speaking of the lake, which we weren't, but that's fine. Here's the lake. Superb. We get a nice run around this lake so we can get to see it. I mean, what is not to like? Awesome. Might cut the power, see if we can't. We'll let the train glide up the rest of that bit of the hill. So we've come off the power because the grade has changed. It says 1.4% at the moment, but that's based on, I think, the average of the entire train. So if you look at the general slope of the ground underneath us, you can see here goes. It's dropped to 1% already. So it's a much easier ride, although it looks like I need some power on there. We're slowing down quite rapidly. Fortunate the game doesn't simulate couplers coupler brake, or I'd probably be braking couplers all the time. The other thing is, Kill Bill, if you don't get any joy with that as a solution, make sure you email our support at railsimulator.com or support@dovetailgames.com, and one of the support engineers there will get back to you as soon as possible. It'll be tomorrow now, obviously. It's given us 50 minutes to midnight. But yeah, as soon as someone comes in, they'll get on it. And they'll get you an answer. I didn't actually count the wagons, Robert. There's quite a few. I would say at least 40, possibly 60. I'm making numbers up at this point. You can see how many there are. You count them on the bottom of the stream. Let me know. Answers on a postcode. There's no prize though. Most welcome, Kill Bill. Hope you have a good time, get your problems solved, and stick around and watch the stream for a bit, if you like. It'd be good to have you on board. Thanks for the follow there, Dav. Good to have you on board. That seems to be my slogan, good to have you on board. Or I'm just repeating myself nonsensically. Robert, this is actually one of the stock scenarios that comes with the game, so I'm picking that, I'm running it, and seeing how badly I can, how little score I can get, it seems sometimes. Pulte, what is my favourite train? Well, I'm a steam enthusiast, really, although I've got favourites all over the place. All trains are good, that's what I'd say, but if I had to pick some, the A4, Mallard, is a lovely train, it's nice fast, it's an example of sort of peak performance. The 9F, lovely, 210, one of the most powerful locos built. There you go, guys, I hope that met with your approval. So yeah, 9F, most powerful loco, it's a beast at 210. One of the sort of other American locos like 484, 484 on the big boy is impressive. But 210 is one of our more bigger locos. Outside of Steam, I quite like the Westerns, Class 52s, they're lovely. Hey, good to see you on the channel. Mental A series, an interesting username. Don't forget to hit follow. Goes for everybody. Hit follow now, right this second. What other trains do I like? Javelin, lovely train. They're the local train down in this area in Kent. My local station is Gillingham, which you can see on the London to Faversham route. Buy it now. Hope that answers your question. What's your favourite trains, people? Viewers, tell me what your favourite trains are, and let's talk about that. Check it out, for once on this ride the engineer gets to see something other than rocks. Plum Pacific, huh? And Robert likes his BR Steam, yeah, well, can't do that, Robert. Don't disagree with you though, there was some good stuff. Mental A series, yeah, I know it'd be nice on the console, wouldn't it? I like using the Xbox controller. I haven't got mine plugged in at the moment, but I do like to find driving the game with the Xbox controller to actually work really well, which I was really surprised about. I was initially really sceptical about the Xbox controller, and just thought, you know, it's not a rail driver, is it? It's not a real controller, but you know what? It really works. It's nice and light, unlike other controllers, and you can pick it up, put it down, and it's still a lot nicer than using the keyboard. So we just passed Stephen South, and the speed limit's going to be going up soon again. And the track's flattening out, going down, so we need to be coming off the throttle and starting to think about our dynamics. Alex, you haven't answered the question. What is your favourite train? Answer me. No. How do I know the tracks are in the right spot in the game? So, have you tried the Google Earth integration? So when you're laying a route, just press Ctrl G and it overlays the real Google Maps satellite imagery on top of the virtual world in game, which means you can see the tracks exactly where they are, and then just draw tracks over the top of them, and draw trees where there are trees and rivers where there are rivers. So Google Earth integration really makes life easy. Before that, what we used to do was you could create a thing called markers, and these are latitude, longitude coordinates, and you go into Google Earth and you mark out where all the tracks were, or where roads were, or coastlines, and then save this list of latitude and longitudes, and then import it. When you import it into the game, what you got was all these flags appearing everywhere, and then you just basically draw tracks or something so that it linked all of these together. Alex, favourite train? Don't tell me you don't understand the question. Favourite train? What is your favourite train? We need to know. I'm not sure I follow your question there, Dav. Robert, no, I haven't tried the new driver actually. I haven't seen what it does. I'm guessing that I looked at it and it looks like it does some hacks with the Lua script on locos, which means you're great up until locos that have got out files. So I'm not quite sure how that will work. But it's good to see people working with it and doing more with it. SD70 Ace, I approve. Good choice, good choice. In America, I'm a bit of an ES44 AC man, but I have to say I do quite like driving some of the other earlier ones, like the GP38 or the SD40. They're also quite a nice fun drive. F59 PHI, yes, that's good fun to drive on the Surfliner. ALP45DP, presumably that's a New Jersey Transit one, over from the on the Northeast Corridor area, which is yes, they're a nice one too. The one we looked at, we've looked at a while ago, was the ALP46 actually. So we're going to a downgrade here. So I've kicked the dynamics into action. We might have to take them off. We'll see how we go. But there's a 10-second setup time. I just want to get them on gently so that we can apply them as we need to. Now we also note we just went past a flashing yellow signal, so I think that's something to be careful of. This section of track actually is two different grades. So trains going down go down on this much steeper grade, and the trains going up go on the other line, which is a shallower grade but longer. But I didn't get much score on that particular stop, so I'm guessing I'm probably with a theoretical maximum of 800 at the moment, so that if I was to get to the next stop on time, which it looks like I might be able to do, the maximum score is 670. So most I can get now is a bronze medal, but hey, I'll settle for that. Alcos are nice, aren't they? I've certainly looked at a few different Alco locos, and they make a nice change from the old GEs all the time. Realise I should be speeding up a little bit here. The speed limit is 35. Let's get up to 30 before we kick the dynamics in. Oh, bit of a meet going on. We've got the another train heading up that shallower track. It looks like that one's running in 211 configuration. That's a long, heavy train. So 211 configuration, I should probably explain that. 211 configuration, two locos at the front, one loco in the middle, this one, and one loco coming up on the back. Dav, did you get hold of the F7 Southern Pacific? That's a nice one. Using the dynamics to hold it now, we're going down at 1.8% grade, so where previously we were going up 1.8% through to 2.4% I think we were, we're now going down, and going down at 1.6% now, which just shallowed off a little bit. Of course, the nice thing about using the dynamic brakes to hold your descent is that you can react exactly to what's going on, whereas with the air brakes you can't. With the air brakes, you kind of have to set them and then forget them. And if you've got too much, the only thing you can do is take the whole lot off or apply it, stop the train, pin the brakes, release it, let them recharge, and then unpin the brakes again. Because you've got a time to these things to recharge. It doesn't affect too much on the train settings I'm using at the moment because it takes quite a while. It doesn't take very long for the brake pipe to recharge. But if this was running in realistic settings, then a full recharge of the brake pipe is a 20-minute wait. Welcome to everybody that's joined the channel recently. We're running Canadian mountain passes, as you can see, and we're descending now. We've just done the spiral tunnels. We're not far from our finish point at Lake Louise, and yes, if you haven't yet followed us, make sure you do. Notice all the social media channels that are strung there on the banner along the top. You can find out more about what we do by going there, signing up, following us, liking us, all of that good stuff. Difference between the types of braking. That's a good question, Kilgore. So, dynamic brakes, which is what I'm using at the moment, is what making all of that noise that keeps spinning up and spinning down, is where you connect the, I don't know if you're familiar with electric motors, but if you put power to an electric motor, it generates motion. That's what it's kind of meant to do. If you would do the other way around, if you just put the output from a motor onto a light bulb and then just turn the motor, you can turn the light bulb on. So the motor generates power. So the way a dynamic brake works is you connect the wheels to the motors. The diesel electrics have got electric motors like this one. And then instead of having that driven, what you do is you connect it the other way around so that the forward motion of the train rotates the wheels, which rotates the electric motors, which generates power, which we then dump into resistors. Hang on a second. Okay, so we need to stop. Okay, so we need to stop soon. So what we do there is, so we're generating the power and create resistance, which actually means that the electric motors are slowing the train down. It's a slightly different way of doing it. Some of the modern hybrid cars do it. It's called regenerative braking as well. Only regenerative braking, what you're doing is regenerating power and putting it back into the network. So generally electric trains would be doing that. It's fundamentally the same thing though. So that's your dynamic brakes. Air brakes. So you've got similar to your car, where you've got, or your bike, where you've got brake pads that are touching the rims. When you pull the handlebars, so the brake pads grip onto the wheel and stop. Air brakes are essentially just air pipes that will drive that whole system. And that whole system runs down the entire length of the train. So there is a pipe that literally runs from the front loco right to the back of the rear wagon or rear train loco on the train. Which means that there's a lot of time for that air to propagate, because you're looking at 5,000, 10,000 foot train. When you make changes to the air brakes, it doesn't react immediately. So it's a bit difficult to explain any further than that easily. There's some really good resources online that we've been finding and looking up, or I've been finding and looking up, which can explain a great deal. So if you just look online for North American air brakes, they've actually covered an awful lot of different types, like the electro-pneumatic brakes used in the UK and in various places, and how the difference between UK air brakes and American air brakes, which is fundamentally something called a triple valve or a distributor. It's a fascinating subject. Stopping a train is actually really, really hard. Yeah, you don't really appreciate it until you start looking into it. It's also really scary when you think that some of these early American trains didn't have something called an emergency reservoir, and because of the way it's difficult to, because of the way the brakes work, you can run out of air to where you can't apply them anymore, and then you've got a runaway train. So, and they didn't have this emergency reservoir, whereas newer trains have got the emergency reservoir, so when you dump it into emergency, it's always got enough air left in the system to put the brakes on. So it's yeah, it's a really interesting subject to dig into. Probably a longer answer than you were expecting, but there you go. That's a very simple explanation of air brakes and dynamic brakes. There are other kinds, but I'll leave you to go and find those out. Okay, so I don't think I'm going to get much score. Oh no, 11:06:50, so we're going to be about 50 seconds late, and I need to be thinking about stopping. So I've done an £8 application on the brakes, so we've just got to wait for the brake pipe to catch up. So this is a good example actually of watching that in action. So you can see the brake pipe there is at 88 pounds psi, equalising reservoir is 82. So the brake pipe is going to descend to get to 82. As it descends, so air goes into the brake cylinder, and then the brake cylinder is actually what's pushing the brakes onto the wheels to slow me down. Alex, you know me, I'm always late, but it's the fact that we get there and we get there safe, that's what matters. And like I said, that's my excuse and I'm sticking to it. Hey Kilbo, I think I'm going to possibly do one more trip after this, yes. I haven't decided what it's going to be. Somewhere back in the UK. But I'll decide that in just a minute actually. Unless there's something you particularly want to see. So I've just released the air brakes because we're actually going a bit too slow now. Yes, so we should be able to stop any minute now in about 0.39 miles. Of course the challenge here is that the stopping area we have to stop in is right up to the red light and it's very small, so this will be difficult. Going through Lake Louise Station. I don't have S-Light on here, Robert, sorry. Hi Jamie, good to see you on the channel. Okay, we just need the train to stop now, that would be good. Okay, we're nearly 2 minutes late, so we're probably not going to see much score out of this. It'd be nice if we could get 30 points, then we get a good bronze medal. Give me the 30 points. Come on, you know you want to. Which new sim are you referring to there, Jamie? I got 146 points and an achievement, which means bronze medal. Oh, my camera's stuck again. Oh well. There we go, we're back again. Right, let me pick another route. Exeter Painting Line. That's an excellent idea. I'm going to do the Exeter Painting Line, Prez. Excellent. We'll do that. Let me sort that out. Dovetail Fishing Sim. You know what? If you hang around, we'll do a bit of Riviera Line, and then I'm going to do a little bit of Fishing Sim, just because I've got it on here to have a play with. You'd be surprised. It's a heck of a lot of good fun.